Sons of the Forest update number 5 is now live. It went ahead a bit earlier than it was meant to, and it's got a whole bunch of new stuff as you'd expect. Brand new found footage, as well as some of the most requested fan feature. Sleds are now in the game. Also added a kind of trampoline. Cooking is the main big feature that's been added, and there's definitely a hint to me in the actual patch files that dedicated servers are going to be here very soon. Everything you need to know about update 5, let's go. So you can now cook in Sons of the Forest. You will need a pot, and you will also need to fill it with water. Place it on a fire and you can chuck a whole bunch of different ingredients inside to make all sorts of recipes that will give you your healing, stamina boosts and buffs and more. Doesn't look like anything's too crazy here, although I am going to go through it all in a separate video guide. But you get the idea. Mix and match a whole bunch of ingredients. Some of them are pretty obvious about what they're going to give you more, either stamina or health. Or of course just actual food. The pot will keep bubbling away and it doesn't take long at all, a few minutes for it to be cooked. You can then carry the pot around with you. You don't actually have to consume it all in one go or have it stationary, and it lasts a long time. You'll get at least a good 4, possibly 5 meals depending on what it is you've made. At the moment you can't add water to the pot, you have to take the pot to an actual water source. As you can see, I tried showing it off with a canteen and it didn't work. As you might expect, you find pots located all around the map. I'm going to show you a couple of them locations a bit later. But basically the Katana bunker, you'll find one, and where the new sailboats are that the cultists actually arrive on the island, which I'm going to show you guys. There are now trampolines in Sons of the Forest. Yep, I'm not joking. The idea of this is to provide, I'm guessing, a little bit of protection for people that are building quite high builds, or just have something decorating your roofs to maybe hide anything above it. I couldn't really find any other use or any other way to put the tarps, but that's how it's meant to be. And as you can see here, taking a jump over and you will bounce a little bit, although not significantly enough that will be hopping around all over the place. But to me, yeah, these are designed as maybe a safety net to stop you from falling or dying, or just purely decorative. Yep, you can now strum your guitar in a variety of different riffs. Can't really choose what riff you'll have, but you will be able to now strum it. Kelvin has a brand new command, so you can get him to go ahead and reset a whole bunch of traps. Fill in the brand new log sleds and to fill the dryer with fish. The spacesuit that we've seen from one of the more recent caves, you can now wear or put on Kelvin. It's in the same bunker as the katana and now the cooking pot as well. It looks kind of snazzy. I like the idea of this one. It would be really cool or interesting if they ever add any kind of toxic zone. Maybe we need something a bit more substantial to protect us to go through, or radiation. Shotguns now have their attachments on the side, no longer restricting your view. The log sleds, as you would expect, are pretty simple and easy. One of them holds 8 logs, the second one holds 12. I would like the 12 to be increased. I think you've got to have a bigger difference if you're going to be having 2 various different log sleds. And obviously you build them with a lot of twigs, and the second one you need a couple more skulls. Maybe some tape too. So all you old fans, you finally put Kelvin out of a job. Found footage, there's 2 tapes added, and one of the new locations is the sailboats that the cultists arrive on. Inside you'll find some extra bits of loot as well as a cooking pot. One of the ships has the found footage charting the journey of the cultists as they set sail for the island. It's almost wholesome and could be mistaken for some weird cultist rom-com. We just need some Enya music, sail away, in the background, which I'm not going to play because I'll get copyright striked, and this would be complete. And maybe a little shout out to the end game boss of the original forest with the crayons there. The second boat is where you're going to find the cook pot. Good times were had indeed. It should be just on the back of the boat on the grill. This can all be found on the west coast in this little gully or cove, more towards the northern west side. Also another little nod of story here too. The second found footage tape is found inside the 3D printer cave through the entrance to the complex, and you should find it on the reception desk. There's some big hints here about possibly getting a frying pan in the future. No, probably not, I don't know. But you do certainly see an egg being fried. Also looks like there's going to be some sort of rifle possibly added to the game in future. Given some of the data miners also found a gun rack, so it looks like we'll be adding to the collection eventually. Waste of a bullet here. These guys were offing off the cultists, and they didn't really need to bother, as we know the cultists go on a spree of killing themselves in the earlier found footage from the last update or so. It's hard to really quantify exactly what's changed because I don't know the whole map off by heart, considering we don't really need to go around so much of it. But I do feel like some of these lakes do seem a bit different with the rushes and stuff, and it definitely is a lot more bodies of water when you take a look at the map on the GPS. To make it more swamp-like in certain places, or just to have again a bit more variation. So a quick scan of the fixes and slight improvements, although I won't list them all. The biggest one for me is the ability that trees will now regrow. This will happen with a 10% chance to randomly drop when you sleep, and it will be a setting on by default. And maybe even bigger actually is the idea that lobby list performance improved in preparation for an upcoming feature. I think that's where we're going to get dedicated servers. Can't see any other reason what you really need to improve and what an upcoming feature could be in terms of server menus. They've made a lot of the areas with much bigger trees to make it more, I guess, impressive. It really does feel like this update is one of them big polished ones that you would do before a full release. With the content being added more and more, I'm starting to feel like we aren't necessarily going to be sitting in early access much longer than they originally planned. It really will be a case of this game coming out in just a few months' time as a 1.0 game. More immersion animations with the cannibals in villages having a test of strength with each other. And a big change here, it says that the 3D printed sled can no longer be crafted or placed on the crafting mat, meaning you're going to have to maybe carry it like you do with the glider. Got to admit that was the one thing I didn't actually test. But lots of fixes. You can go ahead and pause the video if you really want to take an in-depth read, or go to the link that obviously I'll post in the comments section. Does look like cultists have been added to other locations like the endgame bunker, and this is your spoiler warning. Click off the video now if you don't want to see the end boss fight. So it's already had a bunch of changes, but as you get closer to the hyper big demon coming out the lava, you'll notice something different with young Timmy. Timmy now has some of his powers showing a bit more, and he's basically got a massive arm. I wish I'd got a little bit more better lighting with this, but as you know, it's pretty hard in the cave. But yeah, you can see him going toe to toe with the King of the Demons. Blocking the entrance way, he'll carry on shooting, though his arms now disappeared. And yeah, he does now have some voice lines also.
We're out of time. No.
There you go, nice acting job there, Timmy. And Silver Boy here shows some remnants and scraps on his body from obviously exploding into the mutant. So that's update number 5. It took nearly 3 weeks for this update. I think the cooking does add a big feature, and there are some other nice little changes like the sled and stuff. But I don't know if it's massive update really, and I'm not expecting, I guess, huge ones, but it is making it harder now to make lots of content for the game. Hence why you don't see any other content in between really, because I have done everything. I've done 100 days of the game, which you can see on my 100 days channel. I did all the guides that I think were relevant or pertinent, and there have been some changes which I've also shown off, but I don't think it's worth revisiting maybe some of the other stuff until we've got that 1.0 release locked in. They've already changed the end scene quite a few times, so I don't really want to waste a bunch of time making guides if there are going to be more little changes that could still have a big impact. So only from my point of view, content for this game has kind of dried up, and you'll only really see it when we've got an update. But I endeavour to go live the minute the updates always drop, and always give you a recap video afterwards as soon as possible. So there we go, look out for maybe that cooking tutorial, and I'll see you ratbags later.